Oh, hey everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood tone priest here. Say that 5 times fast. We've had a little bit of a departure recently with the most recent videos we've done. So I'm trying to think, what should we do today? Should we remix Purple Rain? No. Maybe I can find some old footage from my high school talent show. No, I don't know. I'll think of something. Let me look in the tone stash, see what we got. Hang on. Look at this bad boy. This is another Gibson GA-20 RVT, also known as the Minuteman. Judging by the transformers, it was constructed in 1966. I'm sure that was a good year. We've already done one of these on the channel, and that was back when I was very green, and I'm sure that video was horrendous, so we'll try to make a video that's not horrendous, just maybe terrible. So, why I picked this one, because it's been taking up space on my kitchen table for about 2 years now, and it's time to get it off the kitchen table before the tone nun kills me. But also, these amplifiers are a great value. You can usually pick them up for around $500-600 bucks off of Reverb, and they're fantastic. They get a 12-inch speaker. They come loaded with 5 transformers, which is, you know, that's a lot of iron. They sound great. They're loud enough to, you know, jam with a drummer, to play out with, but it's also not so big that you can't just, you know, practice around the house with it and not, you know, upset the neighbors.
Get up out of your rocking chair, MSQ! It's time to rock and roll!
So it's a very, very versatile and just a great amp. Has a wide variety of tones, has 2 channels. One of the channels has spring reverb, has tremolo. It basically does everything, and it's a pretty small little package. So, you know, it's a great bang for the buck.
1, 2, 3, 4!
The downsides on these amps are this cluster bomb right here. It's a little funky. This board is a bit of a spaghetti monster mess, but on the positive side, it's not like a Fender eyelet board that's made out of cardboard that eventually gets all warped and goes conductive and gets disgusting. But the wiring is, you know, a bit of a mess, as you can tell here. So, you know, $500-600 bucks off the Reverb. You know, if you're fortunate enough to know how to work on these kind of things, then, you know, you get yourself a great value right here. But, you know, another couple $100 from a qualified technician, and they can make this amplifier fantastic. All right, another thing to look out for with mid-60s Gibson amplifiers. The schematic is pretty much almost guaranteed not to be accurate. They made constant changes on a day-to-day basis, so before you do anything, you got to study the schematic, and then you got to study the wiring to match it up to see if it's the same, see what changes have been made. So there's that. This particular example, if we can see right here, looks like somebody's been in here and replaced the power cord with a 3-conductor cable. So there's been a tinkerer in here. And you can tell by this mess right here that somebody's been tinkering in here. So we're going to have to be careful with tinkeritis. Make sure that doesn't bite us in the ass. Another thing you're definitely going to want to check on these Gibson amplifiers, and if you can see right here, can you see that? Yeah, there you go. Check out the tube complement. The tubes are drawn in order. Be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 7. And it should be a 6 EU7, 12 AU7, a couple more 6 EU7s, another 12 AU7, and then a pair of 6 BQ5s, 6 BQ5, also known as EL84s. On the output, we're going to want to check the wiring on the tube sockets, or the valve bases for you 34 peoples, to make sure that they're wired for the tubes that the schematic is calling for. And what I've done here, I always do this, is I've written the pinouts for the tubes we're going to be using. And we're going to go in the easiest way to figure out if there's shenanigans going on is just to check the heater wires. Because on a 12AU7, pins 4 and 5 are the heaters, so those should be together. And then the heater center tap is pin 9. Whereas on a 6EU7, the heaters are just pins 1 and 2. So I'll go show you some examples here. Hang tight. Alright, can we see here? So this is V1. And we can see pins 1 and pin 2 have heater wires going to them. The black cloth wire, let's get some light in here. The black cloth wire and the white cloth wire are the heater wires. And we have one going to pin 1 and one going to pin 2. We check our pinouts, 6EU7, pin 1 and pin 2. So the second valve should be a 12AU7. So we should have pins 4 and 5 together, and then pin 9 should be a center tap heater wire. So if we look at socket number 2, we can see here, hopefully you can see what's going on here. 1, 2, 3, pin 4 and 5 are together with white wires. And then pin 9, the center tap, has a black wire. So that's wired for 12AU7. More than likely, we still need to check to make sure the plate wires are going to the plate pins and the grid wires going to the grid pins, but we can be pretty sure there. Alright, does that all make sense? I believe the last amp I did, the last Minuteman, had some funkiness on the tubes. The tubes were not wired for what they were calling for, but I could be wrong. It was a long time ago. But I know the guitarist did one of these, and he found that to be the case in his, that the tube complement was different than the schematic showed for. Alright, so other things I like to do on something like this, these drawings from Gibson can be a little cattywampus to read. I always do the pinouts. Just, you know, your memory can be fallible and it's easy to make a mistake, a simple mistake, so I always draw that out on my schematics. What we've also done is, in red, we've drawn all the B+ lines. In green, we've drawn all the grounds. And what we noticed when we drew all the B+ lines is there are no cathode followers in this amplifier. And, you know, a cathode follower can bite you in the ass if you get in there with your oscilloscope probes or your multimeter probes and you're not expecting it. But it can also can trick you if you don't know it's there. Alright, does that all make sense? And then what we can also see is most of the circuits are grounded at the input jacks. And I remember when I did the first one of these, I thought that was odd. But now I kind of like that. We're controlling the flow of the electrons to ground, and they're all collecting up together like a highway on-ramps onto the main highway. And they're all ending here. And that should stop any ground loops and should be a pretty quiet little amp. Another thing I've noticed, we don't have any, on the power tubes, we don't have any grid stoppers and we don't have any screen resistors. We may go in and add that before we're done. Alright, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to keep studying the schematic so we have a pretty thorough understanding of what we're getting into. And then we're just going to go through the amplifier and take stock of where things are at here. Let's see here, the power switch right here. It's an off, on. It has 3 positions. Off, on. And the 2 on positions reverse polarity. We're going to get rid of that because we have a 3 conductor cable, so we don't need that. So whichever on position we're in will be the same when we're done. These guys, there's no point. What is this, 1965? Do the math. You know, this is 55-plus-year-old amplifier. It's time to get rid of these filter caps. So these guys are going to be replaced. So why don't we get these out of here? That'll give us some room, especially to work on the power switch. And but before we do anything, we need to check to make sure there's continuity on all 5 of the transformers, because we don't want to do a whole bunch of work and then dial it up and find out that, you know, transformers are blown and we've wasted all that time and expense. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to show you how you can check the transformers. It's not a guaranteed, yes, the transformers are good, but it will tell you for a fact if the transformers are bad. You know, if they're bad, then that's obviously not good.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
But anyway, and hopefully you'll be able to do this out in the field if you follow these instructions. So if you're going to meet with somebody for a reverb or a Craigslist deal, take your multimeter with you and you can check this. First things first, you need a fuse in the amplifier. I'm just going to grab any old fuse. We'll replace that later with a proper value. So, to check the primary of your power transformer, what you can do is you take the 2 leads of your multimeter, and we have it in resistance mode here. We're testing resistance, and clamp onto each side of your cord. And if there's a fuse inside and it's good, you should get a reading. So the switch is off, you turn the amp on, and now there's continuity through the primary winding of your power transformer. So that's a good sign. Okay, so this amplifier is solid state or diode rectified, but if the amplifier in question was tube rectified, what you do is you find the tube in question. So let's say it's a, no, we don't want that. Let's find a 5Y3, hang tight. WX5Y3 here. And you put your 2 probes on pin 4 and pin 5. Test continuity there. And pin 2 and pin 8. Does that make sense? In a diode rectified one, let's see if we can get you to see what we're talking about here. Here we go. So we have 2 B+ lines out of the secondary here. This red wire, or used to be red wire, it's kind of brownish orange now, and then this one. And see the meter, yeah, it's good enough. And we'll clamp onto one side of the secondary, we'll clamp onto the other side of the secondary. And there we go, we get a nice reading. It's continuity. You see that? Not really. Alright, so it looks like high voltage is good in our power transformer. Now we're going to want to test the heater lines. So that's these green wires. So let's find out where they go. And it looks like it goes to the first power tube right here. Can you see that? Probably not. You see that right there? We got one green wire going to one pin. We have another green wire going to another pin. So we're going to check there. Those 2 pins. See what we get. And we got a reading. So it looks like our heater lines are good. Now, let's see what else we have here. We have our output transformer. So we're going to test the primary winding. So that's going to be the brown and the blue wires. We can see we got a brown wire going to this power tube. To pulley to this power tube. Now you can't see shit. This is tough to do. I need a film crew. We have a brown wire going to this power tube. We have a blue wire going to this power tube. And those are for the plates. Clip one guy there. And one guy there. Survey says Ching. And then on the secondary, we're going to be testing the wires that go to the speakers. So that's these guys right here. You see that? Let me fix the camera for you. Oh. So this is an easy test. Now, if you're out in the field, you're going to want to disconnect it from the speaker if possible, because you're going to get, you know, continuity between the coil and the output transformer, but you're also going to get continuity through the voice coil of the speaker. So that could give you false readings. But anyway. Ching! Alright, we have a good output transformer. So far, so good. Alright, what else do we have here? We have this guy here, which is the reverb tank transformer. Secondary. Ching! We'll flip her over. We see we have a red wire and a blue wire. Going over here. And if we follow these wires, blue wire goes here, red wire goes here. You're going to want to do this without the tube socketed. I don't think it'll make a difference, but it might. Now this is going to be hard to... Can't clamp them on, there's not a lot of space. Now you can see that there. Bam! Reverb transformer is good. What else do we have here? We have the interstage transformer, or the phase inverter, which is going to be this guy here. So we look at our schematic, and we have 3 wires on the secondary and 2 on the primary. Not sure the colors on that, but basically the concept is the same. You know, if you're doing this, you should be able to figure that out, but I'll figure it out and we'll do another clip. Last but not least is the choke. Let's see if we can find the wires for the choke. Kind of tough to see here who's doing what. Okay, on the choke here, I don't know if you can be able to see this, but it looks like 2 plastic covered black wires. This guy here and this guy here. So let's see what we get for a reading. Where'd you go? So that's going to be you. That's going to be you. Bam. Looks good. We're in. Transformers all have continuity. Work can progress. So why don't we go ahead and get these 2 filter caps out of here. We'll wire up the switch, and then we'll start going through this front to back, top to bottom. Here we go. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure these screws are nice and tight, because we don't want our laminations to be loose. That'll give us all sorts of weird problems. So make sure those are tight, and the nuts on this side are tight, which I've done. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean all of our pots. We'll do this before we start doing the work, because by the time we get done working, the deoxit or your electrical contact cleaner of choice will have had plenty of time to really get in there, clean these up, and do its magic. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, we have the first filter cap removed. We left the wires in place to remind us where we need to reconnect to. But hiding behind him is this guy right here, which is, of course, the death capacitor. So he's going to be removed, and it's a 0.022. This might make a cool tone capacitor, tone cap in a guitar. Give it that vintage mojo. So yeah. Alright, we've got our switch out. We cleaned up all the terminals. This is a double pole switch. So these 2 contacts on the back are for 1 pole, and then these 3 are for a separate pole. And it's triple throw, so we have off, on A, and on B. So with the 2 lugs on the back, off is off, and then A and B both have continuity. And then with these side lugs, we got two next to each other, and then we have a third one over here. This third guy over here is the common. And then off is off for all of them, but on A is the closer one, or the middle lug to common. And then on B is the outer lug in common. So now that we know that, we will use that to our advantage and rewire the power switch. Trying to figure out how we're going to power this sucker. And if we look at our schematic here, the two poles of our on-off switch are doing two things. They're powering the primary of the power transformer and also the on-off indicator lamp, which is fine. We'll have the power come in off of the power cord from the wall, goes into the back of the fuse, comes out of the front of the fuse, will go into here, and then this is switched, and then this lug will go to the one of the primary leads, the black primary lead of the power transformer, and then the second primary lead will go to this lug with the neutral from the wall. Can you see all that? And then what we'll do with the on-off lamp is we'll probably run a jumper up from here to here. And we'll have one of these guys going through both of these. Because again, we're not messing with polarity. It's all going to be the same. So we'll have that there. And then this guy will, the other side of the indicator lamp will be tagged on to the neutral power cord wire, probably on this lug here. Does that all make sense? I hope so. Beautiful. Alright, we popped out the two filter caps. The first section, or the first one, has two sections. The second one has three sections. They're all 20 microfarad, or supposed to be. If we look on the schematic, these two nodes are the first multi-section cap, and then these other three ones here is the second one. The first one was supposed to be 20 microfarads. One section was reading 7 microfarads, the other one wasn't reading at all. The second one, again, supposed to be 20. One section was like 25, one section was about 27, and the third section wasn't reading at all. So, two of the sections are probably usable, though technically more than 20% out of tolerance, but yep, they're gone. They need to go, so they're gone, and we shall replace those.
Day 2.
Hey everybody, we're back. Happy Saturday morning. We got the parts we're going to need to restore this bad boy. I was just watching the 7-year-old guitologist video on the GA-20 Minuteman to refreshen our memory, and so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But anyway, so what I'm doing now, before we break out all the heavy equipment, is verifying that what is in here, verifying what's in here is what's drawn on here, to see how closely they match or what the differences are. And as Brad was saying in his video, this stuff here, which he lovingly calls the tone sucking network, was not in his example. Whether Gibson removed that at some point in the production of this amplifier, or someone else did that, who knows. But in my amplifier, that's what this and this are. So these might not be tinkerage. That just might be some quality vintage Gibson manufacturing. So we get a couple of these things here, tone sucking networks. And his recommendation was to eliminate all this completely and just have a straight run, or what we'll probably do is eliminate these two resistors, this capacitor, this this capacitor here, and we'll put in a coming out of the sweeper of the volume knob. We'll go into the grid, but we'll probably have like a 68K resistor in there, like a grid stopper. That should keep us from having problems. But anyway, like I said, I'm just going through the schematic, verifying what we got in here, and it's good just to kind of familiarize yourself with the landscape here, who's doing what and where, because when it looks like this, it can be tricky. But so far it's a pretty normal amplifier. What I did notice, the grounds, it's going to be hard to see through all the spaghetti here. Here's the ground for the second set of filter capacitors, but you can see in here, like here, and then we got a bunch of whitish, yellowish, orangish wires that jump to here, they kind of all grouped together. Anyway, those are all ground points, and they all eventually end up here on this wire, if I can hook it, which grounds at the jacks. So before we're done here, we'll probably remove the jacks and clean them all up, get rid of any rust, because, you know, the majority of the circuit's being grounded right there. Alright, give me a few minutes and let me figure out what's going on here. We'll be back and we'll fix her all up. Oh yeah, one other thing. Definitely going to have to go in there and change this, I believe it's a 100 ohm dropping resistor for the power supply. Let's see if we can find them on here. A 1K, maybe it's a 1K. What are the color bands on this sucker? Brown, black, brown. Was that 1K? 100? Anyway, it's a drop-in resistor. Looks like a 2 watt, 1 watt, 2 watt, but she's cooked. So, might be this guy here. What does that say? Does it say 10 watt? No, 1 watt. Yeah, that's this guy right here. It's a 1K. So that guy's cooked. So we definitely don't want carbon comps as dropping resistors. So that is definitely on the to-do list. All right, here we go. All right, I have come up with a plan. So, after comparing the schematic to the amplifier, it appears, from what I can gather from the internet, that I have the one and only Gibson GA-20 RVT Minuteman that is accurate to the schematic. So this right here is basically a unicorn. That being said, that's not necessarily a good thing. Gibson made some changes pretty quickly after this amplifier was made, and those changes were made for a reason. So, this is the plan. I'm going to leave the normal channel as it is for now and see how it sounds. On the reverb channel, we're going to get rid of this tone sucking network right here. And then out of the sweeper of the volume pot, I'm going to have a 68K and go into the grid of this tube right here. And that should kick up the jams pretty good right there. And so, volume pot, so here's the tone sucking network. This is all going to go, these two resistors, this capacitor and this capacitor. And so we'll just have a wire coming off of the sweeper. And we get a couple of spots right here, unused, whatchamahoozits. A couple of unused places to put components right there. We'll put our 68K right there, leg to leg, and then the wire will continue on down to where it was going. Or something like that. If we can find a better way of doing it, we will. So yeah, we'll do the filter caps. We'll change the plate resistors. The last one of these amps that I did, the plate resistors were no good and were noisy and frying bacon. So all the plate resistors will change. We'll do that mod there, filter caps, and then when we get to that point, we'll dial her up and see where we're at, and then take it from there. And that guy too, don't want to forget that cooked dropping resistor. So yeah, not too much work. I'll be making some noise real soon. Alright, so a little bit more commentary here. You can see these capacitors, these coupling caps. I don't know if that is technically a coupling cap right there, but anyway, these caps right here, very low value. They're probably shaving off a ton of bass. I don't even know why that guy's there. That guy doesn't really need to be there. This guy in later models, I believe, went up to a 0.047. We may change that while we're in here at it. Or we may leave it and see how it sounds, but that's that. And then, yeah, about these tone sucking networks. So we have our guitar in, get amplified through the first tube here. First stage of amplification, we go through the tone stack. The tone stack is going to, you know, seriously de-amplify our signal, and then passing its way through, you know, 0.5 meg of resistance right here, and it's going to allow a treble to pass on by through there. But you know, this, I gotta imagine this is going to sound tinny and trebly. It's going to sound, I don't know, plinky? Is that a verb?
Hold one Plinko chip flat against the board and let it go.
So I don't know what they were thinking with that. They were probably trying to build an amplifier that wouldn't distort. But we like distortion around these parts. But we'll see how it sounds. We'll hear it. We'll hear it. And we'll take it from there. All right, let's get to work. Ooh. Come on, stay in focus. Here we go. All right, the work has begun.
Dig is what we like to do.
Got a couple towers here. Going to put 3 filter capacitors there. If you can see that. No, you can't. And then the other 2 are going to go right here. And this lug is not being used, and it's connected to chassis, so that'll be a good ground. And then this lug here is the ground for, this is the power tube cathode bias resistor. And it had a bypass cap on it, which I'll show you in a minute. What else we got going on here? This is the wire that was running from the ground here to the rest of the circuit that eventually ends up on the switch, grounding the chassis. But anyway, there was a 25 or 20 microfarad capacitor, 20 microfarad capacitor, bypass capacitor on the power tube bias resistor. Camera's going nuts on me. Anyway, supposed to be a 20 microfarad electrolytic bypass capacitor. You see it? Yeah, focus this. Anyway, supposed to be 20 microfarad. It is 44.47. It's more than double. That is not a good sign for the internal components of this amplifier, but whatever. Gotta do what you gotta do. Moving on.
Several bad puns later.
Alright, back to our regularly, wow, that's tough to say, for me anyway, our regularly scheduled program. You may or may not have just seen a successful failure. Or a failure that succeeded, I don't know. Alright, we got all our filter capacitance all plugged in. Just got a couple more wires. Power wires that are going to the plates and various places of our preamp tubes to connect to the positive ends. While we're at it though, we're going to replace plate resistors. So there's 4 100K plate resistors. So 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. I don't know what this guy is here. We'll take a look at him too. You see that? There we go. There you go, Scorsese. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure. And that is these guys here. 100K right here. 100K going to this plate. And then down here on the other channel. Where are we at here? I'm trying to do this through a viewfinder. We got one here and we got one here. Alright. On the last amp I did, these were cooked really bad. So I'm going to do a little preventive maintenance, and we're not going to use carbon comps for the plate load resistors. We'll use these guys here. Carbon film. Should be a little bit more robust and keep this amp running for another 20 years. We did replace that, was it a 1K dropping resistor right there? This guy right here. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
The next day.
Alright, happy Sunday morning. We're about ready to fire this sucker up. Got our power supply all sorted out. We replaced this dropping resistor that was cooked. I replaced the rectifier diodes. You know, probably do not want to rely on 57-year-old rectifier diodes. So those are replaced. Each one of those is 1000 volt, 1.5 amp rated. Got our 4 replaced plate resistors. Replaced this guy here, which is this guy here, the 0047. I replaced that with a 0.01. Reason I did that, I was already in that socket when I was replacing the plate resistors, and I wanted to pull this the original one out and test it. And actually, these plate resistors and this capacitor, the original ones, when I tested them, they were all spot on. So that's a good sign. I don't think this amp was used very hard. The aforementioned, you know, components were all testing spot on. There's no signs of, like, it's no wax melting out of the transformers. On the flip side, there's like no signs of heat from the tube sockets or anything like that. So I don't think this amp was used very much. So she should be in pretty good shape. So what we're going to do at this stage is going to pull out some tubes for the amp. We're going to test them on our tester. Got some stuff from the old eBay that have not been tested yet, so we'll test those. Clean the sockets. The pots have all been cleaned already, but we'll clean the sockets as we insert our tubes, and we'll dial her up and see where we're at. Hang tight for that. You don't want to miss it. Oh, hell yeah. Check this bad boy out. Nice and strong. Want to know what this sucker is? This is, if we can get it in focus, out of the shadows, apparently not. Bam! A Gibson labeled RCA tube. You don't have one of those. Yeah, that'll make a nice V1 right there. So far, so good. Alright, the results are in. Coming at the bottom of the list were the Telefunken and this RCA that measured 72. This Sylvania and this Sylvania measured 74. And this bad boy right here, this ancient RCA, read 75. That's the strongest one of the bunch. Kind of a mismatch. I like keeping brands matched, or black plate, silver plate, gray plate, whatever it's called, the same. So I'm going to see if I have any more in the stash and see if we can't find a more aesthetically pleasing match. But if we don't, we'll probably go with these two right here. Alright, we're dialing the amplifier up for the first time. Nice and slow. It's on the current limiter. I dialed it up to about 35-40 volts. Checked the AC voltage on the heaters. Coming off the secondary of the power transformer going into the diodes. Then I checked DC voltage coming out of the diodes. Checked to make sure there was no AC voltage on the back side of the diodes. Everything looks good there. Heater voltage, AC voltage looks good. Checked DC voltage on, basically checked everything. And nothing seemed out of the ordinary. So I dialed it up a little more. We're at about 80 volts coming from the wall. And this is usually when, in my experience, tubes start to conduct and we can hear some noise from the amplifier. When I probed the power tubes, what is that, pin 7 plates of the power tubes, I heard some static come out of the speaker, so that's a very good sign. I think we're going to be in business here, but let's see what we got. Plugged into the high normal channel, high input. Oh.
Look in the $10,000 for David.
Wow. Yeah, like I thought, this channel's going to be plinky. Very plinky. Let's test the tone. Bass works. Treble works. Volume works. Cool. Alright, let's try the reverb channel, see what we got here. Got a little bit of noise, but I think there's some things we can do about that to make that go away or get it a little bit better anyway. We'll set the treble and bass midway through. Reverb, depth and frequency all the way down. Let's see what we got. Nice. That sounds a little bit nicer. All right, so far so good. Oh, let's see if the tremolo's working. That should work, right? Or we might need the foot pedal. Yeah, I think we need the foot pedal. Alright, I'm going to finish dialing her up and see where we're at. Awesome. Love it. Alright, I got her up to full voltage from the wall, and the original plan was to leave the normal channel as designed. But, yeah, listen to this. That's unusable. I can see why Gibson amps weren't very popular. I don't know. I can see maybe if you're jumping the channels, you're injecting. I mean, it's very clear and crisp. And maybe if you're jumping the channels, you want to inject a little bit of that into a more traditional guitar tone. Maybe that's useful. The reverb channel, the one that everyone's going to use anyway. This one sounds a little bit better. Never mind the guitar player, but it's plinky, trebly plinky. Doesn't have a lot of breakup at all. It's very clean, which would probably make it a good pedal platform, as they say. But yeah, it's just a little too ice pick. So we're going to do some changes. What those changes are, I'm not sure yet, but we're going to do them. And I'll let you know what we do when we do it. Hang on. All right, we are making progress. Working on the normal channel here. Show you what I have done. So, I have tried a few things here. I tried putting a jumper across this guy here with no noticeable change. But that was before I did this next thing, which was to remove these two tone-killing packages right here. So each one of these is the same. So remove this 0047 capacitor, 330 pico capacitor, and these two resistors here. It's basically all one big package, so you can just yank all that out. And from the sweeper of the volume knob over to the grid input of this tube, I have a 68K resistor. Same thing over here. Got rid of this big hunk of junk and went from this 0.01 bypass coupling capacitor into the grid of the tube here with another 68K resistor. And this is the first one, and this is the second one. And I used metal resistors because that's all I had in that value. But let's see how she sounds. I think we're getting there. Bam. Give her a second to warm up. There she is. Oh yeah. Yep, here we go. Put all the knobs on 5. Might be time to tune up the guitar. Still a little harsh on the top end. So we're going to keep tinkering. I'll show you what my idea is. Alrighty. So if you're playing the home game and you don't know what you're doing, then don't play the home game. What you're not seeing in between every one of these changes is me discharging the capacitors and stuff like that. So we don't get friggin' shocked to death. Alright, so we're still a little harsh on the top end, and I think that's because of these coupling caps here. This .01, this 0047, which is actually a .01. I already changed that one. A Marshall, 1987, uses a, what do they use? .022. Fender uses .1. I think we're going to go and split the difference. We're going to put some .047s. So we'll start here. We'll put a .047 here and see how she sounds. And when we're done tinkering with this, we'll come back to this guy and jump it and see if that makes a change, because this guy to me is really suspect. I don't think he's needed there. But first things first, let's throw a .047 right here and see how that affects the tone. Alright, we got the coupling cap removed, the original one, replaced with a Mallory .047. And I put this guy in the multimeter, and he read bang on. All this stuff so far, except for those 1 or 2 exceptions, is reading bang on. I have a feeling this amp wasn't played very much, and by the tone it had, yeah, no wonder. But alright, let's see how we did. Let's see where we're at here. Alright, she's warming up. Oh, that's a good sign. Sounds like we have signal. And you gotta remember, this is a shitty crate bench speaker. Just out on the bench, sitting flat, working against gravity, not in a cabinet. So if we can make this sound good, you know, then a real speaker in the cabinet should sound amazing. But see how we did. Still a little trebly, but it's definitely starting to get some nice saturation and breakup. That was on 5, and it's extremely loud. I think I have permanent hearing loss from that. But not the same type of permanent hearing loss we got from the original tone of this thing. What do we want to do? Well, I guess since we're already right here, why don't we go with a .1? We'll go Fender right there, because I like the way this is headed. And then we may or may not go to that first capacitor here, but we're over here. Yeah. Let's do it. Alright, .047, no, .1 as the second bypass capacitor. Let's see what this sounds like. starting to really sound like a real amplifier. I like that so much, I think I'm going to take the, what did we just take out of here? 0.047, and we'll stick it in the first bypass capacitor position, coming off of V1. So we get a 0.01 there now, so we'll bump that up to 0.047 and see what we got. This is getting exciting. Alright, we got that capacitor installed. So that's this guy right here. It's 0.047. Hey, quiet down. Let's not get excited. 0.047 here, 0.1 here. And for reference, 0.047 here. Coupling out of the first preamp stage. And 0.1 out of here. Coming out of the second, going into the third. Now, this thing should be a real ripper. It's got 3 gain stages. This is not a phase inverter. This transformer is doing the phase inversion process. So this is 3 gain stages. This should be a real ripper. But let's see how that 0.047 makes this thing sound. I think it's going to sound nice. But what do I know? I'm the tone priest, not the tone doctor. The tone professor. Or anything like that. Hold on, let me tune up. It's getting embarrassing. Alright, try that. Hold that. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I think we're good here. I'm gonna try one last thing. I'm gonna try putting a jumper across. Oh Jesus, I can't see what I'm doing here. This input capacitor, which is out of focus. I'm gonna try putting a jumper here, jumping past it, because I have no earthly idea what the hell that's supposed to be doing there. That can probably be deleted from the circuit, but try that, and then wow, we're almost done on this thing. Gotta find the foot switch. That could take an entire weekend in itself. Wish me luck. Oh yeah, she's breathing fire now. Just a few changes, and this is what we got. Everything's on 5 again. A little bit of noise, that's mostly the guitar. And that's with a bench speaker, so that's only going to get better. Good times. Alright, I dug up the cabinet out of the tone closet. She's looking pretty nice. Probably could use a little cleaning. She's a little dirty, but she looks alright. And this particular amplifier is basically an OG Gibson GA-20 RVT Minuteman. The wiring in this amplifier was accurate to the schematic that's available. Later models switched up different tubes. They had 12AX7s. They didn't have the tone sucking networks, the things that we replaced there. Ways you can tell, this one here being an early model, the orange capacitors, we have a mix of like the orange capacitors and the brown capacitors. Later models, like I already did one of these. This is, in fact, one of the first amps I did on this channel. Don't bother watching that video. I imagine it's freaking terrible, but had all of the orange ones, didn't have any of the brown capacitors, and it had all plastic wire. It didn't have cloth-covered wire. So this being an early model has a bunch of cloth-covered wire and a mix of the brown and the orange capacitors. And if we look inside the cabinet, the baffle board is chipboard, but the cabinet itself is real wood. And the cabinet of the other one of these that I have, the newer one, it's all chipboard. Which is fine. It's built like a brick shithouse, so it's nice and sturdy. But this is, you know, obviously a little bit nicer. Alright, I gotta find the foot switch and the hardware for this thing. It's been a couple years since I bought this, so God knows where that crap is. So Well, we're on a mission from God here.
Don't you blaspheme in here! Don't you blaspheme in here!
The power of Uncle Doug compels you. Bam. Nice. Found it.
That is when the reverb is turned on.
The power of Uncle Doug compels you.
And
The power of Uncle Doug compels you.
Be silent!
Your mother sucks.
Yeah. Getting ya.
shielded or ground.
That works. That's good. This takes a funky, weird roach. You can buy them on eBay, and I had to buy one for the last amp I did, and I actually bought two, but we don't need this one, so just in case that one dies, we have that one. But yeah. That works. Switch works. Let's try the tank. Ugh. Hey. Let's not get excited here. That works. All right, here's the old speaker. You can see that. Original speaker. 137 speaker manufacturer code, so that's CTS. Looks like 33rd week of 65. So I believe this thing was kicking around the factory for a while before they matched it up with this amplifier. The youngest transformer on the amplifier is second week of 67, I think. I think that's the reverb transformer. The other ones are early 66, but whatever. Is what it is. Let's put it all together. I'm putting it back together, and look what I found right here. White paint. It's officially a vintage tube guitar amp. I think that's enough said.
I'm talking about all the way to the top.
All right, I can't just give you the tip and walk away. That would be wrong. That would be wrong. Wow, what an absolute barn burner this thing is. Yee-haw. I'm not going to do a whole lot of demo on this video. Got more stuff coming. We'll mic her up and we'll do proper demos. And I just don't have time right now to mic it up and do a real demo. And I haven't played in like a week, so my plan's going to be extra crap. So something to look forward to. We'll do a bunch of stuff with this. Put it on the Rumble Dyno. We'll do a song or two. We'll fit a little around, but mic'd up and in a mix and stuff. So there you go. Before we wrap it up, let me just show you the real quickly the changes that we did. So in the normal channel, hopefully you can see this, we deleted this capacitor here, so it just goes from the output of this 68K resistor straight into the grid of your first tube. We replaced this 0047 bypass, not bypass, I keep saying that this whole damn video, coupling cap with a 0.047. We removed the 3 different tone sucking networks, so these 2 resistors and these 2 capacitors gone. Same here, and then on the other channel, same here. And we just jumped each one with a 68K resistor. So on this one, the sweeper of the loudness or volume knob straight to the grid. From this one here, from this 0.01 to the grid. And then in the reverb channel, again, from the sweeper of the loudness into the grid. And that's about it as far as mods to make this amp a real friggin' fire breather. And yeah, other than regular upkeep and maintenance, replaced the filter caps, replaced one of the drop-in resistors. That's about it, folks. You know, this amp hasn't played much, and whoever owned it before me, you know, you can't blame them because it sounded like absolute dog crap. But she is a fire-breathing dragon now. And hopefully real soon you'll hear some stuff by the Tone Priest that proves the case. So I gotta say, this is got to be up there with the best bang for the money. You know, you can usually get these for like $500. You know, not too long to do all this work. Once you have a plan and know what to do, a couple hours worth of work and bam, job done. So even if you don't know how to do this stuff, a qualified tech can, you know, service her to get her safe for another 20 years and do these quick few mods and bam, job done. Nice small portable package. It's got reverb, it's got tremolo, it's got fire. Yeah. Alright, that's going to do it. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming, thanks for watching, thanks for doing one of these if you do it. And we'll see you soon. Rock on, dudes and dudettes.
Done.
Speaking of things to come, we got this to look forward to. Oh, hell yeah, what could this be? We'll see you soon.